Great seeing you here. We're almost at the end of the course. We're now looking at the artifacts, and we're looking at the artifacts related to agreements and contracts. Here we will be looking at the different types of contracts, fixed price and other contracts. We look at a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement, a service level agreement, and a basic order agreement. Let's have a look at the overview of the different contracts in project management. Now, when we look at projects, they need procurement of physical resources, materials, and services. Services may include subject matter experts to complete parts of the work for which the organization has no specialists. Contracting is very important, but in many cases, it is not done by the project manager, but by the procurement team of the organization. Different contract types exist with all their advantages and disadvantages. A fixed price contract sets a fixed price for the product and or services to be provided, and all the risks are for the seller. Now, when we look at this type of contract, we can use this when the scope is very well defined. We know everything at the beginning of the project, so there is not really too much risk for the seller. We can improve the buyer-seller relationship when we consider different variations of the fixed price contracts. We have firm fixed price, so this is very simple. It's a fixed price, nothing changes. Fixed price with incentive fee. Here we have an incentive fee to make the supplier, the vendor, do the work better and faster, so they get some reward when they comply with these conditions. And then there is the fixed price with economic adjustments. In this case, the prices in the contract are adjusted to the index at the time of payment. So we look at the index at the beginning, at the signing of the contract or the agreement, and then we see what is the index at the moment that the goods are requested or paid. These are different possibilities where we can, in fact, have a better way to mitigate the risk for the seller. Cost reimbursable contracts are also interesting. Here we have a payment of the cost incurred by the seller, plus a fee for the seller's profit. And these are better used when the scope is not so well defined or we expect many changes. The main risk is taken by the buyer, and we have different types that exist: cost plus award fee, cost plus fixed fee, and cost plus incentive fee. There are also what we call time and material contracts. These look at the time and the materials that are being provided. They're also referred to as cost and time contracts. The buyer pays the cost of the materials and the time to complete the work. There is a fixed price part related to cost and a variable price part for the work to be completed. The buyer carries most of the risk due to the time component, and sometimes the work can take longer than expected, so the buyer will have that risk. Now, what we know about these contracts is that they are typically used for staff augmentation, acquisition of experts, and outside support. Another type of contract is the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, or the IDIQ type of contract. Here we contract typically, or we have a contract which is more like a frame contract. The supplier will provide goods and services over a specified time period. There are lower and upper limits set when dealing with these contracts because they determine also the price that the supplier will charge or that the buyer wants to pay for. Contracts are typically used for architectural, engineering, or information technology projects. We also have a memorandum of understanding and a memorandum of agreement. A memorandum of understanding is an agreement between parties indicating an intended common line of action and is typically not legally binding. We also have a memorandum of agreement. An MOA establishes a conditional agreement based on common legal terms. It can be an agreement that can be legally binding and that holds the different parties responsible for their commitment. We also have a SLA and a BOA. An SLA is a service level agreement. An SLA sets a level of a service that has to be provided. For example, you have the speed of a ping on a network, which means how fast are data transmitted over the network, or how much time, what's the percentage of availability of the service that you bought. Now, what can happen here is that these elements, the SLA, can be used to obtain compensation if the SLA level is not met. We also have a basic ordering agreement, a BOA. It's a document between parties that contains terms and conditions applying to future contracts, a description of the supplies or services to be supplied, and methods for pricing, issuing, and delivering future orders. Now, how do we link them to the different performance domains? The fixed price contracts, the cost reimbursable contracts, time and material contracts, indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity contracts, and the other agreements are in fact all linked to the same performance domains. We have the stakeholders, the planning, the project work, delivery, measurement, and uncertainty performance domains. This is again the end of this lesson. We have the overview with the artifacts linked to the different performance domains. That's the end of the lesson. We will be closing the course and the element about, or the lessons about the artifacts in the next lesson, where we will be looking into other artifacts, the different types of artifacts that we didn't classify in one of the previous categories. That's it for this lesson. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Thank you and bye-bye.